NHL Original Six: The Origin of Hockey by RNewnz.
The discussion over who invented hockey has been going on for many years. Some believe that the British soldiers invented the game using a rubber ball while they were stationed in Nova Scotia. Others say a group of students from Nova Scotia invented it as a challenge from their teacher to invent a new winter sport. The answer is still unclear, but what we do know is that hockey was being played in Canada in the 1800s. The history of hockey in Canada started in 1879 when students from McGill University formed rules and started to play a game very much like hockey. In 1885, Montreal created the first amateur organization that would allow people to play hockey. Ontario started their first league, which was comprised of 4 teams. In 1903, we saw the first pro hockey league formed with teams from Canada and the United States. The NHA was created from this league in 1910 and would operate until 1917. The NHL was created from the pieces of the NHA in 1917 and would officially operate their first NHL season that year. The first season was split into 2 separate stages, both about 1.5 months long. The Montreal Canadiens won the first half and the Toronto Hockey Club won the second half. After Toronto ended up winning the NHL championship, they would then go on to play the winner of the Pacific Coast League for the Stanley Cup. Toronto defeated Vancouver Millionaires 3-2 in a best-of-5 series. An interesting note is that when the teams played in Toronto, they played with 6 players, including the goalie, and when they played in Vancouver, they played with 7 players, including the goalie. During the first NHL season in 1917, there were 4 teams: Montreal Wanderers, Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Hockey Club, and the Ottawa Senators. Unfortunately, the Wanderers' arena burnt down in the second part of the season, and the team never played another game. Some historical points of that first NHL season are Frank Calder. He was the first league president. Toronto Hockey Club played the Montreal Wanderers, and Dave Ritchie scored the league's first goal, and the game was played in front of 700 fans. In 1924, the NHL expanded into the United States with the entry of the Boston Bruins. By 1926, the league had grown to 10 teams. By 1926, the league was starting to make some rule changes to improve the quality of the game. The league established that it would always play with 6 players, including the goalie. The second important rule change was that the goalies were now allowed to leave their feet to make saves. The late 1920s was the first time that 2 iconic hockey arenas were built. The Montreal Forum was built for $1.2 million and would seat 9,300 fans. A couple of years later, the Maple Leaf Gardens was built for $1.5 million and would seat over 12,000 fans. By 1942, the Great Depression and the World War II had made casualties of some of the teams playing in the NHL. Teams like New York Americans, Montreal Maroons, Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Philadelphia Quakers all closed their doors. The 6 remaining teams, Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs, Chicago Blackhawks, Detroit Red Wings, Montreal Canadiens, and the New York Rangers, were left to form what we all know as the Original Six. The Original Six continued having success from 1942 to 1967. It was during this 25-year run that professional hockey developed its strong roots and evolved as a passionate sport for people in North America. These 25 years gave us hockey legends like Maurice the Rocket Richard, who scored 50 goals in one season; Gordie Howe, who made his debut in 1946 and went on to be the all-time goal and points leader in the NHL; Jacques Plante, who was the first goalie to ever wear a mask; and Willie O'Ree, who was the first player to ever break the color barrier. During the 25 years of the Original Six, the Toronto Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup 9 times, and the Montreal Canadiens won the Cup 10 times. Every team had its legend stories created by this era. Toronto had the legend of Bill Barricot, who scored the overtime goal in 1958 to win the Stanley Cup, and then went missing in Northern Ontario. They never found his body until 1962, the next time the Leafs won the Cup. Detroit Red Wings have the legend of Gordie Howe, the NHL's all-time point leader. Gordie missed a check in his first season and hit his head into the boards. They rushed Gordie to the hospital, where they drilled into his skull to relieve the pressure. Gordie was never to play another game. He played 35 years in the NHL and is one of the game's biggest legends. Montreal's legend is Jean Beliveau, who came to the team after they bought the existing Quebec team. They signed Jean as a rookie to an presented $25,000 per year contract with a $20,000 signing bonus in 1953. By 1967, the NHL had been enjoying its success as a game and a business. The NHL thought it was time to expand. With the expansion of an additional 6 teams, this put an end to the original 6 era. The new teams entering the league in 1967 were Oakland Seals, Los Angeles Kings, Minnesota North Stars, Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the St. Louis Blues. Although the original 6 teams still have a deep-rooted place in many players' and fans' hearts, and the new expansion was good for the business of hockey, fan support, and for the future stars of hockey in this country. Hockey has proven to bring this country together in good times and bad. My hope is the passion for hockey never leaves this country.